Hey guys, good morning. It's 10 a.m. on Monday. This is Coffee Talk. My name is Nina Means. I'm the director for Austin Community College Fashion Incubator. And this is something that we started doing just over the last couple of weeks here. This is really something that we wanted to do in order to drive just our engagement with the local community, but also we're seeing that we're getting a lot of our friends from other markets joining us as well. So welcome. If you're here and you want to drop a quick note in the chat, let me know where you're coming from, because that'll help us kind of tailor some of the content and make sure that we're meeting your needs, as well as, the coffee talk is really an opportunity to kind of talk about what do you need from us? I always come with some content, just things that, I'm thinking about, things that I'm looking at, things that I'm considering for myself, but really just what we really want to make this time is a time that, if you needed to talk with someone or to ask a quick question, this is a really great format to be able to do that. So feel free to ask me anything. It's not a problem. Happy to do it. But this is something that we are doing on a regular basis. So Mondays, you'll kind of come back here for coffee talk. On Wednesdays, we do something called Workshop Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, whenever we do our ACCFI Presents, and that's an opportunity for us to get a chance to talk to our local community. So last Friday, we heard from Sam Alexander from C2C, which is Concept to Consumption. It's a fashion technology company based out of Austin. And we are actually looking at connecting with him again in the future. We had a couple little technology snags, but we got a really good chunk of the content in that we planned. So we want to make sure that we get back to that conversation so that you can hear all that Sam has to offer. His expertise is really off the charts. So we definitely wanted to bring him back to get a chance to have that conversation with him back in June. So we already have our speakers lined up for the next few weeks, and we will definitely keep you posted. This Friday, we'll be talking with Sheila Hawkins Bucklew, who has recently started Showroom 808. That's focused on creative women entrepreneurs. And so on Friday, we'll be talking with Sheila about what she's doing with Showroom 808 and how she's setting up women for the future, women entrepreneurs, creatives specifically. And then we'll also be talking about her brand. She has a jewelry line that she sells through Macy's. And so we'll be talking with her about her jewelry line, Hawkins Bucklew, as well. So this is a really great opportunity to highlight some of our local talent, as well as our talent that's really expanding outside of the Austin area, outside of Texas, and really reaching a larger audience. So we're really excited to be able to speak with Sheila later this week. I'm going to actually go back and recap all of that later, but what I want to do is go ahead and jump in, because I did, Mondays are a day where you're kind of getting started with your week. You're trying to figure out what's my intention, where are things going for the week. This is coffee talk, so I made sure I'm going with the black coffee today. So I don't know what you're pouring, if it's a green tea or herbal tea or, a good cup of joe. But feel free to enjoy a cup with me as we talk through getting our week started. So this is really about setting some intention, and I'll tell you a bit more about what white space is and what I mean by intersection. So white space in our industry, if you're not familiar with the phrase, it's really about finding where the opportunities are. So white space is really a cool way to say, where are the opportunities? What's missing from the whole pie? What else can I bring to the table that's not already there, or that could be there in a new and interesting way? Sometimes it's not about being first. Sometimes it's just about doing the first thing better. So that could be white space. That could be an opportunity. So there are definitely, places and spaces that we as small businesses can really think about, how do we meet those needs? And the intersections are really about, what are those pieces that we bring together in order to fill the white space? And so I'm going to go over a few different intersections here. But what I wanted to do is to kind of step back for a second, because, I think a lot of times whenever we're under stress and when things are really difficult, there have been a lot of things going on around us. This pandemic is really taking a toll in more ways than one. And so it's really been challenging. I'm not sure how you guys are dealing with it at home, but it's been very challenging on a number of levels. If you're home with kids, if you're, working from home, if you're not working anymore, There's so many things that have made this time very, very difficult for people. And so, we want to acknowledge that. Sometimes you just need a space to be able to say, you know what, it's tough. It's really, really difficult. But I think that what helps us stay positive and keep moving forward is to think about what's in my toolkit already. What do I already have available to me that I can use that's already in my hand? And so one of the things that I wanted to do for a second was to give you, just illustrate for you using myself, how you can kind of assess what's in your toolkit already. So that may be going back and dusting off your resume and looking at all the things you've done before, or it may even be talking to, other friends or confidants or colleagues who have observed you work and understand what your strengths and talents are. And so that way you can take a more accurate assessment of what you're actually able to do on your own, and what types of skills you may be able to employ during a time like this in a way that you may not have thought of originally. So this is about how do you apply those skills in a unique way. So, I wanted to start with myself. So, my background is a bit unique. Everyone has their way of finding their path into their career. And, whenever I started, I'm from the East Coast, I'm from North Carolina. And, where I grew up, it was, people were in medicine, it's called the city of medicine. It's a very technology heavy town. You've got, the research triangle, people are, doing all kinds of things that are a bit more technically based. And so whenever you say, you know what, I'm really into fashion, people have no idea what you're talking about. They know that they buy clothes, but they don't know how they get there. And so, my background actually started off going a more technical route to kind of fit in with my upbringing. So I actually did a program in public health. So my background, having worked in public health, I have a master's in public health in health communications and marketing. From George Washington University in DC. And, what I did for a number of years was work in public health as a practitioner. I did international health metrics. I built algorithms. I did, I managed teams. I did, work for a global company that was actually servicing 65 country programs. But then I also worked domestically. I worked in infectious disease, I worked in chronic illness, and so it was a really great opportunity for me to find some joy of what I really enjoy doing in terms of program management and project management in that space. So I'm a little bit of a nerd. I love numbers. I love spreadsheets. But in the back of my mind, I'd always wanted to go into fashion. And so I switched my career and went into fashion design. And I moved to Italy. I lived there for a year. I learned under master seamstresses and tailors, and I got a chance to see Michelangelo, his work up close. I was very inspired there. And then I came back to New York, where I finished my degree at Fashion Institute of Technology in international fashion design. And I was able to work for Rebecca Taylor and American Eagle Outfitters, and for Halston, QVC. So these were all really great experiences for me that have really kind of created additional skill sets that I wouldn't typically have had I just gone one route. So, as I'm thinking about what's in my toolkit of what do I put to work during a time like this, I think that there's some really interesting intersections that I never thought would really come to play unless you're in a situation like this. So, the good thing is that, I found that, my background in fashion and understanding how product is made has been really helpful with understanding how to, advise on supply chains for PPE, or being able to use my understanding of infectious disease modeling and, algorithms to assess how people are functioning. There are a lot of things that I learned over the course of my career that were not a straight line, but have now become resources that I can kind of pull from. So, you may not, your story is going to be your story. And the power of your story is how you tell it. And I think that I'm learning to tell my story every day. You're learning how to encapsulate your experience to demonstrate how you can provide value during this time. One of the things that I found really interesting was, I don't know about you, but I looked at LinkedIn like pretty much every day. It's like my second email. And I love LinkedIn because there are these different CEOs that I follow for inspiration. And one of them that I follow is Sarah Blakely. And, kind of in that space of finding intersections in your skills and your capacity and all of this, Sarah, she mentions, she's the CEO and founder of Spanx, if you weren't familiar with Sarah Blakely. But, she says, when given the opportunity to aim for success or value, always choose value. Success will follow, especially at a time like this. Wake up each day and focus on how to add value to your family, your neighbors, customers, community, and ultimately the world. The success will follow and you will be happier. And I just love that she shared this. This is in her post earlier today, actually. It's just from less than an hour ago. We're really big on the current here, but it fits so well with what I wanted to share with you today. And really it's about finding intersections in your skills or your capacity with your business and your customers' needs. And so a lot of times, we are, let's be real, we need to add to that bottom line because we still have bills to pay. But if we're really focused on being valuable, the success will come. If it's providing value to your customer, they will pay for it. And I think that that's something that, we really want to focus on. Another area that I wanted to spend some time on was finding intersections in your strength and potential collaborators' resources. So let me unpack that a bit because it's a bit of a mouthful. So how do you find intersections in your strengths and potential collaborators' resources? So, so first we're talking about white space, right? You want to find opportunity in these moments to really be able to drive value for your customer. But in order to do that, sometimes you need to find intersections between your own strengths and other people's resources to be able to deliver that. And so being able to propose it as a win-win opportunity for those who can come together with you to be able to provide value into an opportunity is key. What's been really interesting is that I've gotten, quite a bit of opportunities to speak with people and support, other projects. And I think not so much, really more an advising role and really as, the director for the fashion, providing some support to other programs, that are looking for, ways to deploy their resources in a way that's going to create the most impact. Now, my strengths would be helping them to identify where those impact places are, and then having the technical expertise in order to help them to deploy their funds or, their capacity into that space. Now, you may be thinking about, I'm a fashion designer and I've got a sewing machine and I've got, this collection that I've been trying to sell, but who could I be collaborating with? Who could I possibly be bringing my brand in front of, or who's going to want to work with me? And I would say there's actually quite a lot of people who want to work with you. As a fashion designer, let me help you out with what some of your strengths are. You understand, like no one else, how garments fit on the human body. Big deal. Because what happens is that whenever all these face coverings that work fine in the spring and late winter, covering your face and making sure that you're not coughing and whatnot on other people. And then you introduce Texas heat at 100 degrees. Now what? Who's going to be wearing their face mask when it's 100 degrees outside? How long will you be able to wear that mask? What is it made out of? How do you help people continue to do probably what's best for us to continue to flatten the curve and reduce the number of cases? Totally talking science and numbers here. These are things where designers could really add a lot of value. So there are a lot of really brilliant engineers, a lot of great scientists that do not necessarily know a lot about textiles or don't necessarily know a lot about design. And so there may be opportunities for you to collaborate, with others' resources to be able to bring your expertise to the table, to be able to help create more appropriate personal protective equipment. And really, coverings for the community at large. This is definitely a larger, I think no one was really expecting this to go on as long as it has. And I think that we probably still have some time ahead of us before we have this completely under control. So there's still room to support and make an impact, but there are places where your skills may absolutely be needed. I venture to say they absolutely are needed. So, definitely look at the intersections of your strengths, and your potential collaborators' resources. I've really seen a lot of task forces crop up regarding business and reopening business. And so other places that you may find to drive value is, as a small business, finding ways to join these task forces. Because if they aren't thinking with your specific voice in mind, there's chances that they may miss some of the things that you absolutely need. So a lot of times this is about you setting the field for you to be able to be successful. Sometimes it's not always just about the business itself. It's about setting the plane, setting the place where you're operating from in order to be able to be successful. So if the soil is dry and cracked up, you're probably not going to sprout this beautiful green plant, right? You're going to need to water that soil. You're going to prepare it to be able to grow what it needs to grow. And so similarly, if you are so laser focused on just what you can do and you're not looking outside for potential collaborators or potential resources outside of yourself, you may miss a huge component where you may have come up with this beautiful, perfect product, but you haven't placed it in an opportunity for it to grow successfully. So that's something that you definitely want to consider and think about. How would I create the best possible environment for this to grow? The last one I want to spend the most time on, and that one's really about finding intersections and future opportunities in the market. So this is really where we're, leaning into the white space, but also this is really where that capacity and your strengths and your skill set, really thinking long and hard about how do I strategically set myself up in this climate to be able to keep going forward. And I think every small business, every mid-sized business, every large business is thinking the very same thing. How am I looking at what are the upcoming trends and what's happening, things that we realized in this pandemic that need to be different? And one of those things, I'm just going to list off a few of them here, and I'll get into a little bit of detail for some of them. Some of them I'll just bullet point just for the sake of time. But one of the things that we are really seeing a need for is reshoring. And this is something that we mentioned in our talk with Sam Alexander on Friday. I was asking Sam to go into a little bit more detail about reshoring and what that really means, just so that we're all talking the same language here. Reshoring is really where we're looking at, a lot of our product is being made in other countries. And so our ability to be able to have quick access to those resources is quite low. We have to wait for it to get aired over or boated over. And, honestly, most of the time it's getting shipped, right? It's actually on a boat and it's being sent to a port where it's being processed, which takes a very long time. Now, if we actually take the time to pay for an airline ticket for that product to get here, it's really expensive. And so this is something that we're really looking at. How do we create opportunities to reshore, a lot of our product that's being made, and to kind of bring it closer to where we are. Some people call it nearshoring, and that's just kind of I think it's actually a really cool term. It's just about bringing it closer than where it was. So even if we can't reshore all of it, meaning making it all domestically, at least we can nearshore it and make it closer to home. This kind of has a long range of possibilities, right? This improves our sustainability. This improves, a lot of different components in terms of our, not having such a huge carbon footprint, in transporting of goods. However, it does create an opportunity, we'll call it, in costing, and how do we manage the cost and bringing product closer to shore. And this is really where some of these future opportunities and intersections meet. If you are a numbers person and you love to get into the details, you may actually find that this is a really good intersection for you. You may find that talking about the reshoring and sustainable supply chain is a really great niche for you to fill during this time, because you may have found a number of ways to be able to address this reshore, nearshore issue, and how do you create a gainful workforce while also providing a product that people can afford to buy. So this is an opportunity but it's also a challenge. And so I think that this is where we really need to think about our skills and our capacity and how we can apply that into this space. These are definitely interesting times, and I'll just say quickly, I believe that our reshoring is really going to be dependent on technology. And a lot of our technology is going to have to move faster. It's going to have to be more targeted. It has to be more focused. And we are actually wanting to look at how do we create more value in that space and be able to help people to work in the industry that's coming, so that they're really able to continue to do what they do. I think that there's a few other things that kind of come into this, but I think for the reshoring component, there's a lot of different handles that make an opportunity there as well. So there are a few other things here, just finding additional intersections in the future of this market. Transparency has been an upcoming trend. There are brands like Patagonia who've done it from day one. I mean, they've been phenomenal. I think Patagonia has been kind of the holy grail in transparency. But I think that there's other brands that are really trying to step into this space and are doing it kind of in a spectrum, slowly adding more and more transparency as they're figuring out how to solve their own problems and then sharing about it. So the more you find out, the more you share about how you are finding solutions, the better, because now this is really where you're demonstrating value to your customer, you're demonstrating value to your community, and you're really promoting, I believe, what goes into a long-term sustainable business. Another buzzword of what's kind of happening in these future opportunities in the market is circular economy. This is really something that if you've never heard of circular economy, I encourage you to Google it, because that is a whole talk in and of itself. But circular economy is really where we're looking for how do we control the experience of the product, the life cycle of the product doesn't end up in a landfill. That's the best way to kind of encapsulate it. But it's really circulating that product back to be utilized, to have a longer lifetime value than, we typically talk about customers having a lifetime value, but the product itself, having a longer lifetime value beyond, the first purchase, and then how it's being utilized again, kind of in its and contributing to, our climate issues that we're having. It's really looking at sustainability head on and saying, okay, yes, we understand that we like to buy new things, but what can we do to reduce our footprint, our impact, as we're creating product? Another future opportunity in the market, I've got two more. So the next one is really about something that we've all seen. Honestly, I feel like it's getting integrated similar to the way that Amazon is getting integrated. Probably even, I won't say to any greater or lesser extent, because I don't want to, I'm not particularly siding with any one kind of business or business model. But the business model that's been standing out the most are subscriptions. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the uptick in subscription-based businesses, but 9 times out of 10, you probably have some version of a box or a resource, or something that you subscribe to online, or something that brings you what you need when you need it, sometimes before you even ask for it. So the subscriptions, is really kind of been this future opportunity in the model that I think is still growing and still has opportunity there to find ways to do subscription better. But I also see a bit of subscription antidote. And what do I mean by subscription antidote? So there's a pandemic, and we are concerned about disposable income. And in a space where we're having the highest unemployment rates we've ever had, there's a concern for resources dwindling. And so what I've seen are finance apps that are actually helping people to unsubscribe to things that are pulling down their monthly income. And so I think what makes someone decide that your subscription is more valuable and needs to remain in an environment where people are trying to cull down, their spending habits? And so that's really where we're going back to the top of our conversation, where it says the goal is to be valuable. And once you're valuable, instead of chasing success, it will attract itself to you. So this is really where subscriptions are still awesome. I think that there's still a lot of value to them. People are finding lower cost subscriptions. There are a few different opportunities in that model. If you've ever tried to take on a subscription-based model for your business, returns and shipping being the primary. But in terms of an overall trend, we've definitely seen a growth in it. And so there's definitely opportunity in building that up. But whenever you look at how people's resources are draining, you want to think about, how am I creating value that would make that subscription or something like it still a priority? And so that's something that you really want to take a look at as well. This really isn't a time for us to tell you what to do. This is just an opportunity for us to share with you some future opportunities that we've been seeing and some considerations that we think would be valuable for small business. So definitely take a look at it. And then the last one is really looking at a bit more of global implications of what it means to be able to work remotely, work closely to home, and then to be able to get your product out in an environment like we're in right now. So there are a lot of opportunities to explore in this space. I think that the global implications, again, similar to circular economy, we have an entire talk on just that part. But I did want to bring that up as something that maybe I'll pick that up for a call or a coffee talk in the future and really drill down more into global implications. But what we want to do here is to, give you, just some food for thought. This is just how we're starting off of our week. How do we kind of thinking through what do we have in our hand? What do we have of value? How can we bring what we know to the table? How do we identify white space and opportunities in the market? And then how can I look at, what my customers' needs are, the intersection of my skills and my customers' needs, the intersection between my strengths and potential collaborators in the future, potential collaborators' resources. Maybe someone has something that I don't have. I've been meeting some really incredible people. Jane Hervey from Boss Babes, ATX. I've been meeting Mike Millard. There have been so many incredible people that I've been meeting during this time. And I think that there's an opportunity to bring your strengths and potential collaborators together. So, finding intersections and future opportunities in the market. So all of these things really, help us to consider, how are we going to thrive in this environment? How are we going to get to the next step? And really it's identifying those opportunities, thinking through the white space, and then looking at what skills you have to bring to the table, what capacity you have to bring to the table on that. So guys, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. Again, my name is Nina Means. I'm the director for Austin Community College Fashion Incubator. And I am, wanted to just, say thanks so much for joining us for Coffee Talk. It's been we are really enjoying these conversations and getting a chance to speak with you. It is almost 30 minutes. I'm going to keep to my time, but I do want to remind you on Friday, we'll be at ACCFI Presents with Sheila Hawkins Bucklew from Showroom 808. And she's going to be talking here about all the great things she's doing for creative women entrepreneurs. That's Friday at 10 a.m. on YouTube Live. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. On Wednesday, we'll be back here at 10 a.m. as well for Workshop Wednesday. And that's really where we're introducing kind of, really where we believe that a lot of the workforce is going. So if you're working by hand or you're doing a lot of work on your own in your own studio, if you haven't learned about tech packs and working digitally, Workshop Wednesday is a really great opportunity for you to start to learn about that process. And so that's completely free workshop, something that we'd love to give to you and to be able to support you as you discover other ways to use your talents and skills. So we're going step by step through the tech pack on Wednesdays. And then we'll be back here on Monday for our coffee talk. So guys, thanks so much for joining me. It's really been a pleasure to be able to to talk with you, to enjoy a little bit of a cup of joe here. And, feel free to reach out via email if you have any questions. It's fashion.incubator@austincc.edu. We are a department of the Austin Community College in partnership with the City of Austin and Gerber Technology. And so we're looking forward to sharing with you all the great resources that we have here pretty soon. If you have any additional, if you want to kind of keep up with us where we are in social, feel free to follow us at ACC Fashion Incubator on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find us there on any of those handles at ACC Fashion Incubator. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe to YouTube Live for the Fashion Incubator, and we will send you a notification when we're back up. So thanks again, guys. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you today. And feel free to send any questions. If you heard something that you're like, Nina, what are you talking about? Or how can you help me understand that better? I'm happy to go over it more with you. We do some consulting and support, but feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to see you go far and to stay thriving in this environment. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.